Hi everyone, and welcome to the WIB interview series. So for this YouTube series, we're going to be interviewing women in business from WIB or outside sources. We're really excited, and our first guest today is our president, Emma. So I'm going to be asking Emma some fun questions. She's a very interesting gal, and I'm really excited to get to chat with her. So Emma, if you want to introduce yourself, maybe like year, major activities, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Hi everyone. My name's Emma. I'm currently a senior at Berkeley studying business and minoring in data science. And I am graduating this semester, so fall 2020. But I am very, very excited to be president for this entire year. And I've had such good experiences in BOIB. I've been a part of it since freshman fall. So it's definitely been a defining aspect of my college experience. So super, super happy to be talking to Lucy today. And yeah.
So just like talking a little bit about like BWIB, you mentioned that you're president, and are there any other activities that you think have helped in your develop your professional career, and also just personally?
Mm-hmm. I think reflecting back as a senior, like I don't want to sound too like old or jaded. But like Berkeley is a challenging environment, like especially in the business community, it's pretty small and like you're fighting for the same opportunities. But I would definitely say BWIB is like a very supportive community. It's where I learned the whereabouts of, like what I want to do as a career. And like all of my closest friends, pretty much all of my closest friends are from BWIB. So I've definitely had a really, really good experience. But aside from joining like a student organization, I would say like the defining experience is like just meeting different people. And like one regret that I would say I have is I don't think I've met enough people from like different communities within Berkeley. I've been pretty much pigeonholed in the business community. So if you're watching and you're an underclassman thinking about studying business or anything else, would definitely encourage you to reach out and like meet different people. There's so many great student organizations on campus that I'm sure once COVID is over, there will be more, and like there will be more chances to meet people as well. I don't know if that even answered the question. I can't remember what the question was.
No, it did. And also you'll definitely get flyered by them on Sproul. So like there's no shortage of
For
clubs.
sure, yeah.
And then I know that you're in a finance club, right?
Mhm.
And just like pivoting a little bit because this title is going to be clickbait, not really, but Emma's working at BCG following post grad. So I was wondering, like, did your finance club have anything to do with your career that you're pursuing in consulting?
Mhm.
Or I know we do a lot of like consulting things in BWIB as well. I'm just wondering about that and like.
Yeah, well, it drove me away from finance. Just kidding. But yeah, I came in knowing that like I wanted to do business, and I've always had a pretty good sense with like numbers, and like I was really interested in the stock market and stuff. So I thought I was gonna go into finance, and I did a few finance-based internships, so like private wealth management, asset management, and like I dabbled in it and I liked it, but like it wasn't like a perfect fit. But like being surrounded by so many people in the finance world, I was really able to talk to them and like see what their jobs were really like. And then also being a finance club, it's not just finance people. Like there's people doing like, like their own venture. There's like a few consultants and people going to do like tech and stuff. So I was able to get a pretty well-rounded perspective, as I did with WIB as well, since we have such like an extensive alumni network of people going everywhere. I just realized that consulting is probably a better fit for me, just because I do consider myself like a more creative person, and I really like working in teams. Also, the traveling was a perk, of course, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's why I decided to try consulting instead. And like you said, I'll be going back to BCG for my full time. And I'm very super, super excited about it, especially if I could start in person. Because I had a remote internship and it was not, definitely not the same experience I would have had if it was in person.
Yes, Emma will be flying to Toronto and New York. Catch
Oh,
her soon.
catch me in like San Diego, Mexico, Hawaii.
Yes. How did you become interested in consulting? You mentioned that you're like creative, and I think that anybody who doesn't go to Berkeley like doesn't know that there's like a really big like consulting culture here. There's like a lot of consulting clubs, and I forget. Are you in a consulting club? Like, did you have previous experience going in? Like, basically, like how did you become interested in consulting, and like any previous experiences that led up to that experience?
Yeah, so I was not in a consulting club. I didn't like the consulting club like environment is very competitive at Berkeley and there's so many. So like if you're thinking about joining a consulting club, like I've definitely encouraged you to do so because I think it's a really good way of like learning about basically what consulting is and really be hands-on with the project. I think that's like a very valuable experience. But since I didn't have that, I would say like my biggest inspiration came from one of my mentors at WIB. So shout out to Anna Mancia at BCG and SF. So I would say like I followed her footsteps. It's just because she knew me very, very well. And she personally told me that like my personality might be a better fit for consulting than finance. And of course I like trust her so much. So I just decided to like just to shoot my shot and like try consulting. And in the process of like prepping for consulting interviews, I realized I actually really, really enjoy casing, as nerdy as that sounds.
Oh my gosh,
It was
love
honestly a lot of fun for me to like go through the cases and walk through like walk through the solutions and situations, and then like putting my own spin on it. Like I really, really enjoyed that process much more than I did when I was like memorizing banking 500 questions. Um, so I thought like I probably made the right choice. And from my last, like from this summer internship, I enjoyed it so much, even though it was all like remote. I was able to like connect really well with my co-interns as well as my case team. I had absolutely like an awesome experience. So if you're interested in consulting, like definitely check it out. I know that in Berkeley it can seem like really intimidating that like everybody's going to consulting or banking. But like if that's something that you're truly interested in, if you think you like work really well within teams, you like being creative, you like traveling, you like all the fun perks of being a consultant, definitely check it out.
Awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned like case interviews, and I'm sure that there's a lot of questions about like what does the application and interview process look like. I also know that, recruiting is not like a one-way street. If anybody is watching this and they didn't know that, there's a lot of stories that people have told me about recruiting and how it can be like kind of this process that can seem so daunting. So I was wondering like what was recruiting like for you, and also the application and interview process for BCG in particular.
Yeah, so consulting has a more, I would say, like standardized timeline compared to like banking, because banking is very, very accelerated. But for consulting, for your junior internship, you basically start as soon as you get back to campus. So like end of August, that's when all the companies are gonna start holding info sessions and like coffee chats and stuff like that. So you'll be going to all the different info sessions, like talking to company representatives and like, learning about the different firms. And then interviews start probably the first couple of weeks or like 2 weeks of September. And then the process moves pretty fast. So I had my first round interview with BCG in the beginning of October, and I had my final round 2 weeks later. So I received my offer before the end of October. Like you'll definitely be wrapping up by November if you're going through the junior internship recruiting. And my interviews, I think it's pretty standard across all the consulting firms. They're obviously case interviews. So I had two 45-minute cases for each round. For the first round, I interviewed at the SF office, and there were like more junior people. So there were like associates and consultants. Whereas for your final round, you're meeting with the managing directors and partners. So they're more like higher up. And the cases get a little bit more challenging. Um, since I'm working out of the Seattle office, and my pref office in Seattle, they like flew me out for my final round. So that was
That's
a cool experience
cool.
too. Yeah,
Wow.
but the interviews, I would really say like definitely hammer down your behaviorals. Like they're gonna ask about questions about like you overcoming an obstacle, like you working in a team. They want to see who you are and like what you're like when you're working. like maybe you don't have the best technical skills, and I would say I definitely don't, but like they want to see that you're someone who's coachable and like someone they can, really work with as a part of a team, that you're like well liked and they would talk to you on a plane ride or invite you into their home on a Saturday morning. So I would say like the process really lets you like let your personality shine through, and obviously you have to be really good at cases too, but yeah, there's lots of ways to do that.
Yeah, are there any like materials or like I don't know if there's like workbooks that you use to prepare?
Yeah, for me, I read Case in Point by Mark Cosentino, like cover to cover, probably like 3 times. So that's the only book that I used. Highly recommend. And I also read like a lot of different case books published by the MBA programs. Like those are really easy to find. Just literally Google them and they'll pop up. I know some other people have like watched YouTube videos on how to case and stuff. I know that's been helpful. And then also, my like biggest tip is to case with another person, like a live person. They don't have to be a consultant. They don't have to be someone going into business. It can be your like a roommate, your parents, your sibling, like anyone, because you're trying to see that you have logic in your arguments, and
Mhm.
like people don't need to be in business to see that, but definitely walking through cases and being confident in the way you present is very, very important.
Awesome. Yeah, I've definitely heard of the Victor Chang videos. I think that's
Mhm.
like what I've heard. And also Case in Point is like a classic. I can't believe you read it 3 times. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I was cramming for the interview. Oh yeah, that's a whole other story throughout the preparation process.
That's beautiful. That's why I had to take it to BCG, guys. Case in Point 3 times. Awesome. So I guess like shifting gears a little bit, how do you think that like Cal has best prepared you for your career and also just like the real world? I know that, it's not a really like easy college to go to. Disclaimer, I feel like that's very well known.
Yeah.
So yeah, how has like that helped you in everything, like your development?
Yeah, so I think coming to college, my like actually biggest concern was not coming to college. It was like having to live in the dorms and like having to share a bathroom with
Oh
someone,
my
just to
gosh.
be completely like transparent.
Mhm.
But I came to Berkeley, and the first midterm I took, I was below average. It has never happened to me in my life, and I cried and
Oh,
whatever. But Berkeley is a very challenging environment. Like we all come from high schools from like the top of our class, but then when you put everyone together, there's gonna be like some people are gonna thrive earlier than others do. But I think eventually everybody finds their pace and like their place in Berkeley. It's definitely a very, very challenging school, and like people are very competitive. But I don't think the necessary, like at least in the community, business community, like the cutthroat, like snaky stereotype has always been there. But I don't think I've really experienced any of that. Like I think people are still really willing to help, and we're all in this together. Even though the Haas curve is notoriously bad, and it is true, but I think people are still like at the end of the day, more people are still willing to help you. Like when I was preparing for case interviews, I was reaching out to literally random people who've graduated, and they're still like willing to help me and give me tips. Um, so I think just like looking back in in like entire experience, it is so important to find your community. And I feel really lucky that I found it pretty early on, whether it's like my friend group or people in BWIB or people from other organizations, that you have this support system. You have people who know, what you're going through, and like someone you can talk to about, life stuff, school stuff, because I think it's so easy for us to just combine our college life with like life, that
Mhm.
like college kind of takes over everything. But it is so important for you to like still take some time for yourself, still have a social life, get some sleep. Like yes, grades are very important, and yes, like cramming does happen. Like dead week is
Oh, it's a time.
it's a terrifying time, but like still take care of yourself. And I think the best parts of college is not, I aced a midterm, or like I
Mhm.
got my job. I mean, that was pretty good, but like the best times were, like when I was telling someone's birthday, or like celebrating someone else, and like hanging out with people, or just like drinking wine on Thursday night. Like those are the things I will remember from college the most.
Mhm.
Um, and just like don't forego all of that because you were cramming for a midterm.
Yes,
That was
that's
like
so
such
smart.
like old woman advice, but you know.
Yeah, looking back, and this will probably be my last question for time's sake. Looking back, like, do you have any advice that, your freshman self, like, what you would tell like a freshman or, someone who's like thinking about coming to Cal,
Yeah.
now that, you're kind of like leaving like your path in graduating?
Yeah. I think definitely don't be intimidated. Um, like we've all been there. We've all been freshmen. We've all been like lost and really frustrated. So like don't be afraid to ask for help. And like it's okay if you can't do everything. Like we're not superhumans. Like it's okay to drop the ball sometimes and it's okay to put yourself first. Um I think looking back to my freshman year, honestly, my regret was just like I think I was just too intimidated by like the whole academic environment that I like really, really just studied too much. As bad as it sounds, I wish I went out and like made more friends my freshman year, like just hung out with people more instead of just like cramming for a midterm.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not saying like don't study. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But take some time to meet more people and meet people outside of your just like your dorm or your business org, talk to different people. Like freshman year is the easiest time to make friends, and I'm very, very sorry for the freshmen for going through this during like COVID. It sucks. But like meeting people freshman year and also like still being open to like joining new things. I think in college like no one's like done developing. I feel like I've changed so much through college, that just like don't feel like there's nothing else for you to learn. Like there's always more for you to learn. And college is a wonderful time. Like you're never gonna get this back. And just don't take yourself too seriously. Like have fun and then everything's gonna be okay. Like when it seems like the world is like falling apart, um, but like everything's gonna be okay. So just like don't stress.
Oh my gosh, that was some good advice, guys. I'm like being hit by Emma's words right now. Awesome. Yeah, I think that that'll bring our fun little interview. This is more of a chat. This will be, I don't know what we're going to title it. It'll be casual, but thank you so much, Emma, for coming to chat with me. I learned so much, and hopefully the viewers of this video also gained a lot of value. I know I did. And yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. And I hope whoever's watching this is having a good day. And yeah, go Bears.
go Bears. Everybody have a good day. Bye.